And I'm coming to y'all from home because my hot water heater decided to quit last night, and they've been here all morning working on it and are still working on it. So I may get distracted while I'm talking with y'all when they once they get the element in. It didn't want to cooperate coming out for them, so they've had to do all kinds of work on that. Um, Hopefully they'll be finished up shortly. Um, so to what we've got left, and this one, remember, this session doesn't count for anything grade wise because there's no discussion this week. That cuts my workload next week a little bit. Um, you've got lab final, which is out there for you now, and that's going through. You're going to build the packet tracer file for that one. So you have to put the equipment all onto it and everything, and it'll come up with a PKT file instead of a PKA extension on it. So you're going to create on that one. And that one's available now. That's due next Tuesday on May the 4th. You've got a final exam to do also, which will open up on Saturday and be available through Tuesday, which is basically it covers all of the chapters, modules we've done in the book, and it's selective questions from through there, and it's twice as long as the other exams, and you got twice as long to do it on. So where I've been giving you 45 minutes, you'll have an hour and a half on it. And each of those two things count as 10% of your grade. So there's, when y'all look at your grades in that first average column, that you see at the top, which most people's grades are probably in the 40s and 50s on there. There's 20 points right there possible to get added to your score before you get to the final. Besides, you've also got a test this week that is due on Monday, next Monday, not. And you've got a lab on chapter module 17 that's due next Monday, and each of those will add some points. But I think I've pretty well transferred test scores all across that. I did that last week, so that should be pretty well up to date on that. So most everything should be in the grade book there. Don't think of the group of y'all in here today. I don't think any of y'all are ones that I still need a permission form from to be able to transfer the grades to the Cisco site, like on your the grades from the discussions and the grades from the labs. And I have to be able to mark you completed out there for you to be able to pass the course. The one other thing you do have to do, but it's going to mandate it and make you do it before you take the final exam, is there is a course feedback at Cisco, which should be open now. I'll double check later today on that, or hope to, because I got several. This is another busy day on me. That you have to do for Cisco, and it's the same thing you did if you finished the packet tracer assignment. Though there was two things you had to do in there in that packet tracer course, and one of them was you had to take the test, and the other was you had to take the course, do the course feedback. And if you've completed both of those as of middle of last week or so, when I did transfer grades again, and I have to manually do that, you'll see 100 sitting in NetAcad for your packet tracer course assignment, and that just counts as another lab. So all of that's, any tests or labs have to be into me by Monday night. And then the finals, the two different final things are due on Tuesday. And then I've got to get all of the grades calculated and averaged, all of the grading done of everything gets turned in on Monday. I've got to get done by Thursday because I have to turn in grades Friday morning by 10 a.m. And before I can do that, I got to get all of the grades transferred back and forth between Cisco and Blackboard in the 3 classes I'm teaching that are using the Cisco materials. And next Thursday evening is graduation in Rome, which is a drive-through graduation. And those that are going through it already know that they're going through it. They can't sign up for it now. I'm scheduled to go down there that evening and participate in that, where I'll stand by the drive as the cars go by and wave at everybody doing it, because I did it back in December at Dalton. So we're doing drive-through again there. So that's going to take 4 hours out of my day right there, basically, when you calculate in drive down to Rome from Lafayette and back, and then an hour or two, over an hour down there, because I got to be there early, and they'll give me a T-shirt to wear during the ceremony and a noisemaker to make noise. So that's half my work day gone right there. But I've got to get the grading all done during that day and on Wednesday.
So underneath assignments, I'm looking at inside Cisco's Academy. Underneath assignments, skill exam, that's the final exam?
That's the final lab exam.
Okay.
They called it skills exam. I call it a lab final.
Works for me.
That's the same thing. And the assignment is actually sitting at the bottom of assignments in Blackboard.
Okay.
So if you go all the way down to the bottom of the page, it's the either bottom or next to bottom thing. That I think the Dropbox is the bottom thing, and the actual assignment is in the folder above. That's called final week, I believe.
Yeah. Final exam. And then the next one below that is lab finals Dropbox.
So the actual assignment's sitting in that folder right above the Dropbox.
Okay.
Okay. And it looks like it's the same type directions you've been having in all of your others, but you just got the directions there. You don't have a preset packet tracer file, and so you have to set the stuff in there, and it tells you which equipment to grab and to stick up onto the desktop, and then you have to wire them together and configure them as they tell you what to do.
Okay.
I wouldn't wait till Tuesday to do that. I'd go ahead and start on it earlier, and like I say, it's available now.
So both of these, the one that we can do, sorry guys, Sylvia and Justin, the ones that we can do right now is the one that says final exam. And it says view description.
Let me flip over there real quick and make sure I
don't want to start something and then go, oops, that wasn't the right one.
All right, all the way down at the bottom of the assignments page in Blackboard, and you've got final week. No, it's in lab final, correction. In lab final, and I've got there that says it's also called skills final by Cisco. Within that folder is the lab final document. That's what you're going to use to do it by. That's your directions there. And then you'll submit it in the lab final Dropbox, just like you submitted all the others. But notice it is a...
Because see, what I see is final exam, and then it says due May 4th, 2021, then it says final exam, and then below that, it's got a hyperlink says view description. Is that the final exam I shouldn't do until next week? Because the other one I can't click on.
Where are you at?
I'm underneath. Yeah, underneath assignments, my grades, and off to the right.
Okay. Go to, instead of going to my grades, go to lessons, assignments and tests.
Lessons, finals, and tests.
Because it may not be linked together. I don't know. Some of that stuff doesn't always do. Go to lessons, assignments, and tests, and then go to assignments.
Now I'm trying to get there. So lessons, assignments, and tests. I'm going to click here. Lessons, assignments, and tests. Okay. So then way down at the bottom.
Then go in assignments.
Okay, assignments.
And then go all the way down to the bottom. Because that's been
final
telling you
week.
Everything. And then you see, but right
lab
below
final.
Lab final. Click on it, because that's a folder. And then you'll see the lab final document.
Okay.
And that's where the actual assignment is. That's where the document is. That looks like what you've been seeing always in the little box when you open up Packet Tracer with the PKA files.
Yep.
And
so that's what we can start now.
And you can start that now. You can do that now. You can, if you get it finished, you can go ahead and submit it now.
Okay, great.
And there's the submittal box right below, because actually one person in your class has already submitted it.
Ah, genius.
Just apparently good time management.
Or they can learn and from lessons and reading papers. All right, good. Thank you. Sorry, guys.
So that's that one. Um, but like I say, the course feedback, when you go to do the final exam, if you haven't done the course feedback already, it will make you do it before it will let you start the final exam. So that will get done. All right. The quick labs, the Google stuff, all you're doing is you're doing it out there. There's nothing you submit to me. Jill West, who's managing all of that on it, because it's her vouchers that y'all are using. She will send me a report next week after Monday night and shows what everybody has done. And then I'll just transfer the grades off of that at that point. So that's one more thing I have to do for your class also.
Wow.
Is I've got to go down basically she'll send me a spreadsheet with all of y'all's names down it, and then it'll show what all y'all did. And as long as y'all did both of those little courses, and I agreed they're not little, because each of the activities in it, of the 4 or 5 activities in them, probably will take you 20, 30 minutes each, although they give you 40 minutes on each of them. So they'll take a little bit of time on that to get those done. But there's nothing you submit to me. Just when you finish them there and it green checks them in Quick Labs, then that means it will appear like that for me on the report that Jill will run from there. So there's nothing to submit to me. I think that was Felicia asked me that.
So it's 5 total.
And I forgot about
assessments.
That.
Is it 5 total assessments that we go through?
And Quick Labs?
Quick Labs, yeah.
There's 2 courses you're to do, and then there's several different things it has you do in each of them.
Mm-hmm.
And where it says it needs credits to do most of them. There's a couple of the steps it doesn't charge any credits, but you don't have to worry about that because you've been given, when your account was created, she gave you 20 credits, and y'all are only going to use like 10 of the credits to do these 2 introductory courses.
I think I've done them, but I don't know.
Because what it has you doing is going through and setting up and doing some basic stuff in Google Cloud and about how Google Cloud works.
I can't even tell where I completed them or not.
If you go in Quick Labs and look, it will show you green checks on the ones you have done.
Yeah, so I think the last one. So I've done 3 so far. Getting started with Cloud Shell and then Google Cloud Essentials 2 months ago. So how many of these do I have to do? Because I've got 4 in there.
There was only 2 of those courses that you had to do, and then there was about 4 different steps inside of each one of them that said they took about 40 minutes is what their estimation was. Okay. But y'all probably got them done quicker than that. The first one you probably took closer to it. Felicia, if you will send me an email on that, because I won't remember when I get off of here, and I'll go back and check. I can go back to if you did it as Collaborate, I can go back and look at the Collaborate session and see who attended on it. If you did it as discussion, that should still sit there and show for me also. That'll still be showing, so I can go back and double check it. Because sometimes something does happen, and I may have gotten missed. I may have been one where, like today, where you were a few minutes late, and that I may have failed to mark it down on my list to give grades on. And if I did, sorry about that. And that is easy enough for me to go back and verify. And so I'll get that fixed. And if anybody else, if there's a grade missing or something in there, email me about it. And that way I've got something reminding me what to do. Because I say I'm not going to remember it. Like right now, I'm sitting here at home doing this session. And and
Yeah.
wanting to be on the road because ideally, I was hoping to go be over at Patusa today to have lunch at 12 because today is their spring fling where they're serving lunch and giving away a t-shirt and some other freebies, and I have no idea what the freebies are. I've got the t-shirt already because they gave instructors them ahead, but with no hot water, I haven't had a shower this morning yet, so doing this collaborate works well.
Man.
All right. Other questions for me on all of this? If you have not registered for summer yet, you need to get that done as soon as possible. Um, and I just registered somebody this morning. Um, but that's the big things. And then I say, so I've got to grade all of anything that gets turned in on Monday. Actually, y'all stuff, I've got everything that's been turned in as of earlier this morning has been graded in your class. The only thing I haven't graded in your class at this point is this week's discussion that was due yesterday, and I'll do those as soon as I get a chance. So this afternoon, I've got the other collaborate session like normal at 1, and then I've got a statewide curriculum meeting about networking, which I'm chair of, and should be still after that meeting because we're electing a new chair, and that we're looking at Server 2019 and Azure and how to start teaching those in our curriculum. Um, and I've got that meeting at 2, which I'm hoping is only an hour, but I don't know. And then I know I got a Kiwanis meeting. I just saw an email just a little bit ago reminding me that I had a Kiwanis meeting later tonight. So it's full. But that's part of why I've got you in that Google Cloud one. That when she got those free vouchers, um, a ton of them, and said I could use them with my students, and she was using them with her students. And that's why I added those in, is so that y'all know a little bit about the cloud, because they're all similar. So the rest of them, the credits that you don't use to do those 2 classes, you're welcome to use them on further doing some more. They will expire in August, so if you got credits left, which you should, go ahead and take some more. And if you need a few more credits to take a class you want to take that's out there and it's a few more than what you've got left there, send me a note and I can get her to give you some more credits. Because she's still got credits sitting there that she's not assigned out or been used. And the only thing, the restriction is they will expire in August. And that was part of why we're using them like we are, that she got given them from something she did last year and they were going to expire on her. And I'm taking a couple of classes myself there, going through. I just regret they don't give us a certificate for having done them or a fully usable badge, not just a badge that can be used on LinkedIn.
Right.
Because I'd like to have badge to put on my website with the other badges I have for the other things I have taken. But for some reason, Google's chosen not to do a badge more than just for LinkedIn. I'm surprised they don't have a generic certificate they generate out there for when you finish also. But I don't need anything from y'all on those. That's purely she's going to give me the information on it. She's going to generate it from where it's compiled out there at Google at the Quick Labs. So it will generate her the information and she'll pass me the information about it, about how all of y'all did. And all I'm looking for on that, it doesn't make any difference what y'all make on any of that. But if you notice, those of you that have already started them, it just checks you off when you finish. So you did it or you didn't do it.
Right.
Okay. So, and likewise, the packet tracer, what you made on the exam and it, I'm not paying any attention to because their requirement is just that you have to do the exam and do the course feedback, and then they mark you as completed and you're eligible to get the certificate of completion for it. So if you, just as long as you did those 2 things and I can check the box that says complete in packet tracer, you get 100 for that assignment. Agreed, that makes it a little easier on me, but that also makes it easier on you, though. You don't have to sweat it. Do remember, to pass this class, you do have to do both the lab final and the final exam. Now, I did not say you have to pass those two things. If your scores are high enough that you can fail the final exam and still end up with a passing average in the class, you'd still get your grade. But if you don't do either one of those, I have to give you an F in it. And that was back in the syllabus, that those two items are mandatory and you cannot pass the class without doing them. But it's not a requirement you have to pass them. You have to do them, and then it's whatever your grade comes up with, everything averaged is what grade I give you. But if you don't do them, you make it really easy on me to give you your grade because you get an F. But I'd rather y'all give some work to do on that, okay?
So everything that's out there, even in Packet Tracer and in our Blackboard, make sure that we do them. Otherwise, we get an F.
No. The only things in the course that is mandatory that would automatically give you an F is just the final and the lab final. Everything else all adds up to determining your grade, but you can miss some of those things and still pass the class.
So
but if you miss those two specific things, you
yeah.
cannot pass it.
Okay. So the one of them's in Packet Tracer that we just have to do. Doesn't really matter what we get, but the two that we have to make sure that we finish are in your Blackboard. Am I getting it right?
Which are actually in the course out there. Will end up in the course out there in NetAcad
Okay.
for the numbered course, not, and that's the regular course, not the Packet Tracer course. The Packet Tracer course is just an extra part I've added on
So
for y'all
anything
to
that's
do.
out in NetCAD, if it's got to be done, then it's got to be done. There's no question about
But
it.
the only two things you have to do, there's only two things that absolutely have to be done, and that is the final exam and the lab final, which are both mentioned in Blackboard, but like the lab final is actually out there at NetAcad because it's just like the other test.
Okay.
But if you missed a test, obviously that's a 0 in determining the average you made in the class, but that wouldn't fail you the class on it. That just hurts your grade. But if you don't do the lab final and the final exam, then it's an automatic F.
Okay. And those two things are out in NetAcad.
The final exam is in NetAcad. Your lab final is what we just went through with you on finding at the bottom of assignments in Blackboard.
Okay. Confusing, all these finals and exams, and they just seem all the same to me.
So essentially, you've got, for the class, you've got a lab final and a final exam. Now, for that Packet Tracer class also, it did have a final in it, but that was just a final for that Packet Tracer class, which you had to do to be able to get the grade, which is just a lab grade. But if you didn't do the Packet Tracer class, you just missed a lab grade.
Okay.
And it just counts the same as all of those other labs you've done in here, just like the Module 17 lab that y'all have got to do this week.
If I get paranoid, I'll probably send you an email.
And if you get confused on all of that, send me an email and I'll answer back. Okay?
Thank you.
So that's that one. Okay, Felicia, that is in the Packet Tracer course. I think you're talking about. Well, I'm not sure. The Packet Tracer course, if you do the stuff in it, if you did those two things, that then I can mark you as having completed it. Because there's some other little quizzes I think maybe scattered through it, and you had to read through like 6 or 7 chapter stuff on it, which should be been helpful to you on using Packet Tracer, and that's the reason I have you do it, because it shows you a lot about Packet Tracer. what the grade is that you make on that final there in Packet Tracer, not the final in the regular class. I'm not paying any attention to that grade number. I'm just looking that you did do it because that's what Cisco's requirement is. You had to do the final, but they don't set up how the grade has to be determined and everything. And if you did do it in the course feedback in that packet tracer course, then I'm just marking 100 for you for the packet tracer course lab. Um, Likewise on the quiz labs, um, that you just have to do that stuff. And then once you get through all of it and it says that you've completed on it, which it has some questions and it does make you get a couple of those questions correct. But the only thing it's really looking at is that you went through and did, and it makes sure you did do the lab. Then when you finish that and you get the, and it'll give you a green check for it, that when it's all of those are marked and it says you successfully completed that course and says you qualify for the badge, that as long as you get both of those done, then that counts as a lab also in our class. Because I got a column there for Google Lab, and that's what that is. And I'll just put 100 over in there if it shows that you completed both of them. If you only did one of the two courses, I'll probably give you a 50. But if you didn't do either of the courses or didn't finish them, finish one of it, there'll be a 0. So I'm not sitting there and doing detailed grading on those things or trying to find out what you did, what you didn't do. But hopefully they're helpful and informational to you. Now, I know the directions are not the best of directions. They got some problems, but part of that is they did those directions on it, and then Google is continuously upgrading and making their cloud product better, and that changes how things work some. So there's a few of them you got to dig around a little bit to figure your way around through it. And if I gave you directions on the corrected directions on it, there I would have changed them before I got that information out to you, because you're using a product there with Google Cloud, or if you did the same thing with Azure or AWS, the same things occur. Because I'm taking an AWS course now, and I've hit the same problem in there as I'm taking it. That sometimes the directions aren't exactly right because AWS went and changed how they did it slightly, and it's not been changed in their curriculum. But that's the problem with a very dynamic program. All right, any other questions for me?
Yes,
I'm
sir.
surprised to see 5 of y'all in here joining in today. I really didn't expect anybody. So thank you for attending this last session. I hope y'all learned a good bit in the class this semester. As I
Yeah.
told you at the beginning of the semester, this is probably one of the hardest, if not the hardest class you will take here at GNTC, is general experience. There's a whole lot of stuff you learned in here. If you continue on in Cisco and take the next class and the following class, the next class will be some easier than this one, but it'll be much more hands-on to it and less theory you're having to learn. And then when you get to the third class, y'all are going to tell me, we're not having to do anything. I'm sitting around bored. And I'm serious on that. When they used to have 4 classes, when you got to the third and fourth class, you go, there's not that much in here. And that's the way Cisco's always had it. When I took the 4 Cisco classes, which are now 3 classes, they changed it a year ago. And I went to University of West Virginia to take them. The first 2 classes, we did a huge amount in, just like y'all have just experienced. And we were studying each night, and we went to class 8 hours a day, every day, the full day. And I did your class in 1 week. Okay. And actually, I think it was in 7 days. And then when we got to the third and fourth class, we went to class in the morning and did our labs while we were sitting in there, and then we'd have the afternoon off every day for the 5 days for each of the 2 courses. That there wasn't anything for us to do, and we'd go sometime, a couple of times we went sightseeing in the afternoon, or we'd go back to the motel or do whatever. There just wasn't much there. So when you get to the third class, you got an easy time. So it won't stay this heavy. Although if you do go further in Cisco beyond what we teach, which CCNP is next, the first course in there, those three courses I think is in there also. I've taken the first one, and people that have taken all three of them tell me it's exactly the same setup as this. The first course was a killer for me, and it was just as long course. 'Cause I took it in Jacksonville, Florida. It ran 2 weeks. We went to class every day, all day from like 8 to 5, and they actually made us all go. They pretty much made us all we do. They didn't literally make us all go, but they strongly encouraged us all to go together to eat lunch somewhere away from the college each day, that we'd walk to a restaurant nearby just for a break along for the instructor. And then we'd go back to the motel room and study 4 hours every night is what I did. And I know some others studied longer. Um, that was I was going 12 hours a day for a class is enough. Um,
That's
But then they
great.
told me that the others got easier after that, but then I didn't get a chance to do that because unfortunately that's when I fell and hurt my eye, was hurt my head and around my eye, was the day I finished that class. Um, and by the time I got back to the school and everything, they decided there wasn't a reason to send me to the other classes. Um, so but that's just the way Cisco does it. So y'all have learned all of the basic foundations of networking in this course. You can pass. You're prepared to be able to go and take the Network Plus exam and should be able to pass it with just a little review. It'll be less stuff than what you took in this class.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And if you want to do the Network Plus exam, um, get a hold of me to get a voucher to go take it because I can get you a voucher where you only, which you'll have to pay for, but that'll cut your cost for the exam in half. So it'll be about 50% off. Okay, because we're a CompTIA Academy along with being a Cisco Academy, and so I can
Just
save you about $150 on that exam.
oh my gosh.
They're not cheap.
Wow. Yeah.
And then I will
Just
send you out in the next few weeks. I will send you a copy of the certificates you earned um, in the packet tracer course and the regular class from Dedicad. Along with, you can actually get them out there yourself now, but I will get them and email them out to everybody also, and then you can print them out if you want me to sign it because it has a spot for me to sign it. Just bring it by the school one day and I can sign it for
that'd be great.
you. And it's a
Just
PDF file, so you can print as many as you want.
what do you think about just so they know for the Network Plus, they should probably look into the wireless APs, how to configure them before they go take the Network Plus. How
Um,
do you configure a router at home so that they know how to do that?
Yeah, I think there was a couple of questions on it, but it's not a really big part. But it
No.
wouldn't if you've got, and most of you've probably got Linksys type routers around. That's what it's actually going to use on there is the setup like on a Linksys. But it's just a couple of basic questions of setting the SSID and a couple of other little simple things on it.
Yep.
So it wouldn't hurt for you to look at on that. And actually, if you stick in Packet Tracer,
Yeah.
you can put in you've actually got one of those devices you can put up there and click on it and see how the setup is. And it's what they show you there is the same type thing you'd see on Network Plus. So you don't even have to get on real equipment that you can pull that from in Packet Tracer also.
Yeah. Just that.
Because you can they've got the access points which are using basically the Linksys their interface.
Yeah.
Interface went out my head there for a second.
Well,
Okay.
thanks.
But I'd also say look out there for a practice test on the Netacad. There's some free practice tests at different places that you can get a hold of and look at on it. And I don't think Cisco gives you one anymore, but they used to have one in here, but I don't think there is one at Netacad in your course. Look at what all they've got out there at the end of the course, because they've got a few extra little things. I'll try to glance and look at that later today if I think about it, because there's some other practices. There is a practice final exam out there for you also, which should be active. If not, I'll get it activated, that you can go through and do it as many times as you want before you take the final exam. And that'll give you a review over the whole book, because y'all probably don't remember everything right off, because you do need to remember what your 7 layers are for the OSI model and the 4 layers to the TCP IP model. And that would go for both things we're talking about, the final exam, and if you were going to do Network Plus, definitely know those 7 layers. And again, I would tell you, if you go to take that, before you start taking, because they will give you a marker board or something that you can write on, after you go to click that you're going to take the exam, quick write down for you the 7 layers and the 4 layers. I would put those down there. And a couple of other things like that. You might want to put actually a couple of columns on binary numbers right there for yourself. Remember what the columns are, the 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, and maybe even the 1, 256 for hexadecimal. Just as little reminders, so when you hit a question, you've got that information still for you. But it doesn't get deep into subnetting or anything either. It'll just mention about it.
I think the practice final ITN, I think it's at the bottom and it's active.
It is active? Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes they've got it set out there where I have to activate it, and sometimes they don't. And I don't remember if I had activated it or not. I may have activated it, but it should be active out there for you. Okay. The practice skills final, skip that one. That doesn't do you any good for anything. That when you see
the practice final?
No, not the practice final, the practice skills final.
Oh, the PTSA. Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Because it really doesn't have anything to do with what y'all are doing for the final for on that stuff.
All right. Well,
All right. Any other questions for me?
No, sir.
Anybody else got any questions? Because if not, I'm going to let y'all go, and hopefully I think I got hot water now. So I can go jump in the shower and then head to school. Because I think they finished. And so this is it. Monday is the last day of the class, and Tuesday is when your finals are due. And then your grades, Wednesday, hopefully I can get it done real quickly Wednesday, because they'll cut Blackboard off on you pretty quick right after that, and they may even cut it off at the end of Wednesday. Hopefully I can get y'all's grades, everything graded by early Wednesday, or done, graded on Tuesday, actually, is what my intention is. So you could go into Blackboard on Wednesday and see what your grade's going to be. And if you do see something wrong or missing, do send me an email and tell me, and we can work on it.
Okay.
And then the next Monday, the 10th, your grades will probably be available on my GNTC on the 10th, or for sure by the 11th. Because we have to have them in by 10 on Friday, but as y'all can guess, some instructors won't do that, and they got to hunt them down and get them from them. And then they've got to go through and verify that everything was entered in the proper format. And sometimes that's not done correctly on that. And then they got to do a roll on it where it rolls them over permanently. And at that point, they become available for y'all. Okay.
All right.
See y'all during the summer, if you're taking any classes from me then, or see you around wherever I run into you. Because I know some of you will be back in the summer for 2452.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So I'm going to conclude it.